Hello and welcome on Thomas Geiger Car. Today with a brand new BMW 6 Series GT. Formerly known as the 5 Series GT, BMW has used the generation shift to upgrade the vehicle and to make it its own model line. Not only because the 6 Series Coupe and convertible is soon to be called the 8 Series, but also because this vehicle is looking better, is bigger and is more comfortable. And it's a total upgrade to the experience that you can have in a 5 or in a 6 Series. At least that's what BMW is claiming. If that's true, if you really get more comfort on the back seat and more driving pleasure on the front seat, that's something we're gonna find out on our test drive. So please join me on my ride with the 6 Series GT here on Thomas Geiger Car. In the long run, the 6 Series will probably be available with all the engines that you know from the 5 Series. But for the start, there will only be two petrol engines. The 630 with a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 258 horsepower, or the 640 with a 3-liter 6-cylinder 340 horsepower and X-Drive all-wheel drive technology. Something that is missing in a car that claims to be more luxurious and more prestigious than the 5 Series is the 8-cylinder engines from the BMW 7 Series. And also an M version would be nice if you like to give that car that extra bit of premium. But maybe time will tell and there will be other engine derivatives as well. The 6 Series GT is not only looking better than its predecessor, it's also driving better. That's due to the new and refined setup of steering and suspension, and even more to a big loss of weight, because the car is about 100 or 150 kilo lighter than the outgoing model, and that is something you feel in every curve. But please don't get me wrong. Even if it's lighter and more sporty than before, it's definitely not a sports car. Neither an M5 nor a proper 6 Series Coupe as you know it from before. It's just an agile highway flyer that is focusing on the comfort of the backseat passenger. If you like something different, you should choose a different car. But probably not the driver is the chooser in this car. It's the one in the back seat, and he can't get it better than in here. The biggest advantage of the 6 Series compared with the 5 Series limousine or station wagon is the comfortable rear seat area. Because BMW has increased the wheelbase for about 10 centimeters to 307 meters, that gives you that extra bit of leg room to make the journey more comfortable. And compared to the 5 Series with long wheelbase as it's sold, for example, in China, you got a different rear seat as well. It's more a sofa than a bench with an electrical reclining rear cushion to adjust it to your seating position. It's only a few degrees, but it makes a huge difference if you like to rest on a long journey or in a traffic jam after a hard day of work. But compared, for example, to the 7 Series, there are some things missing. You ain't got a remote control for the infotainment, you ain't got a rear seat infotainment, and you can't adjust the front seat from the back seat as you'd usually do it in a chauffeur limousine. So there's a little bit to go if you don't want to change into the 7 Series. The outgoing 5 Series GT for me was one of the most ugliest BMWs in the recent past. And they've done quite a bit of work to get this car more beautiful than before. They've lowered the roofline, they've made a longer back, and they find a nice way at the end. For sure, it's still not a beauty, but it reminds me much at the Audi A7, which is its main competitor. Also not a very beautiful car, but a very successful car. Something BMW claims for the 5 Series GT as well. And probably 6 Series GT will make the same way. For me, the best way to look at the new 6 Series GT is from the front, because from this perspective it looks almost like a 5 Series. You got the same bold and strong kidney grille, and you got beautiful slim laser headlights. And overall you got really a heads-on the highway, because everybody's moving to the side when this car approaches from the rear, and you got built-in priority on the left lane. To make the journey a more comfortable one, BMW has not only changed the size and the seating of the 5 Series when they upgraded it to the 6 Series. They've also changed the setup of the steering and suspension. And they've installed the 2-chamber air suspension in the rear axle. That gives you a real magic carpet ride feeling when the car is flying along the highway. For sure, the driver might expect a bit more sporty, aggressive setup and can change that with the Fahrerlebnisschalter that switches into different drive modes. But on the rear seat, there is no other car in that segment, at least from BMW, that is as comfortable, as smooth, and as luxurious to ride than the 6 Series GT. One of the big advantages of the 6 Series GT compared to the 5 Series limousine is its big trunk space. It holds already 600 liters with the seats upright, and if you fold down the seats with a switch of your hand, you got an impressive 1800 liters of cargo space, enough to take a nap if you'd like to, or to have a real comfortable seating in the back as well. Thank you for joining me on that first test drive with the brand new BMW 6 Series GT. For me, it's probably the best compromise you will find in the BMW business class. But as any compromise, also this car has its disadvantages. Because if you look at it from a driver's perspective, for sure the 5 Series limousine is the better choice. If you look at it from the back side, and if you think about cargo space and carrying your goods and luggage, for sure you're better off with the station wagon. But if you look at it from the back seat, there's probably no other car as comfortable and as prestigious as the 6 Series Gran Tourismo. Thank you, tschüss, and bye-bye.